Tantalizing Taste Buds welcomes you with chewy, simple, and fudgy brownie. This is a public demand recipe. This is done by our own in house baker, Anushka Kelshiker. She's a passionate baker and she started baking on her own from a very tender age. You can have a look at her creations. Isn't that wonderful? One of the great creations were cupcake bouquet, then the rainbow cake with each and every layer having different taste. Then her Halloween cupcakes were awesome. Her cookies are excellent. The best near to my heart is the doll cake which she presented me. Isn't that cute? Let's have a look at the brownies.
Everyone, for the recipe of chewy brownies today, the ingredients you'll need are 110 grams of unsalted butter, preferably at room temperature. You'll need 170 grams of chocolate. You'll need 2 eggs, a tinge of vanilla extract, some baking powder and baking soda. Then you'll need a pinch of salt, some flour, cocoa powder, and over here I've used sugar. Now, if you want chewy brownies, you can always use brown sugar, but if you don't have that, you can just use 1.5 cups of regular white granulated sugar. In this recipe, I have used a half and half. The first step is to boil water in a pan and then put another container on top of it using the double boiler method, and you want to add your butter and your chocolate into this and stir it evenly until you see no lumps in the mixture. Make sure your water is boiled so this process is faster. You can always use a kettle and just pour it in, and this has been boiling for around 7 minutes now. Constantly stir to make sure the bottom of the pan does not burn the chocolate. And after that's done, you want to transfer it on to a cold surface and wipe off all the condensation on the bowl. Now that I've transferred it onto a regular surface, I wiped off all the condensation. And now I'm going to begin by adding my sugar in small amounts. So just add a little and you want to start whisking. And then you want to add the rest of them into smaller portions until everything is fully combined. So obviously now your mixture has a lot of lumps in it, but the next step is adding eggs. So you don't need to worry about the lumps, and it is going to become a bit more smoother and easier to mix. So I'm going to start off by adding 1 egg. Make sure you add 1 egg at a time and gently mix the entire mixture. So obviously, since this recipe is doubled, it's gonna be more in quantity, and now I'm adding my second egg. So you can obviously tell already that it has become much easier to mix, but keep adding your eggs. For a usual recipe, this is gonna be 2, but I will be adding 4. So now I've added my final egg, and as you can tell, there is no difficulty in mixing it, and the batter is very smooth. Next, I'm going to add in some cocoa powder. Now, this isn't an optional step because this makes your brownies richer and it gives it a more chocolatey flavor. So here, I'm going to add half a cup, but if you're using the regular recipe, you're only going to use 1/4 of a cup. So stir this in and be very gentle. You don't want any falling out. So apart from just the rich and decadent flavor of this brownie, something really good about it is that you only need 1 bowl, and it doesn't even require a hand mixer or anything. As you can tell, I'm just using a hand whisk. Next, I'm gonna add in a pinch of salt. So I'm just gonna do 3 rotations, actually 4. Then I'm gonna add in some just small amounts of baking powder and baking soda. This will help your recipe. And then I'm going to add in a splash of vanilla extract. So just 1 lid. And this is when you give your final whisk. So keep whisking. So now finally, obviously we haven't forgotten our flour. I'm going to add in 3/4 of a cup of flour into my recipe. And now you want to make sure you fold this into your batter rather than whisk it in. So I'm just going to gently fold this into our batter until it's nice and even. It's going to take some time, but just give it some time and fold it in completely until you have your desired result. So after about 2 minutes of folding this in, my batter has finally given me a nice and even consistency. And just be sure you wipe off the edges of the bowl too. And here is your finished batter. Now what you want to do is preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius and remove a baking tray so we can start greasing it and pouring the batter into it.
I can't wait to eat the brownies. They look so yummy and nice.
So now I'm gonna put in my brownie batter into my greased pan. Make sure you scrape off the edges of your bowl nice and continue to add your entire batter. So the last step you want to do before putting it in the oven is tapping it down to get rid of all the air bubbles. And once you think it's smooth, you can put this into the oven and get baking. 12 minutes, I'm just gonna poke it a little fork. When it comes out clean, you know your brownies are ready. So I'm gonna remove it and transfer it onto my platform. Transfer this onto a cooling rack. So just let your brownies cool for around 30 minutes to 1 hour and then you can cut it and they're ready to eat. Nice and chewy brownies. The brownies have been cooling for about 15 minutes and you know that they're already starting to settle down. They're going to become a bit more firm, but this is the indication of them becoming chewy. So please wait for them to cool down completely or they're not going to be as chewy as you expect them to be. Once they are, they're going to taste delicious. Thank you.
Thank you, Anushka. Can't wait to eat these delicious brownies. And guys, our mouth-watering, simple, chewy and fudgy brownies are ready. They are delicious and so rich in the taste. Actually, you can pick up a piece and you can eat this brownie because of the dense structure you can see. It's dense, but at the same time, if I cut open, you can see it's so moist from inside with intensely chocolatey interiors. So according to me, these are the best brownies in the world. At the same time, if you have a look at the edges, they are so crumbly. So all in one. I hope guys you'll love making them. I would really like to thank Anushka Kelshiker for her recipe on our channel.